Every story has an ending. Does our quest to play the top 100 courses in 10 years have a good ending? This is the Top 110 Golf Podcast. Episode 4, The Reality Check. It's your reaction to adversity, not the adversity itself, that determines how your story will develop. Today, I'm talking about a bump in the road and the reality check. Now, we both love a spreadsheet. There is some comfort in a plan. It's a plan that's backed up in numbers. It's the ability to manipulate those numbers to suit your narrative. We had one, as you already know, with all the distances on it, so we could see where was close by. But how about the costs? I hadn't even thought about the costs of all of this, if I'm perfectly honest with you. The average golfer is probably used to playing £20 to £40 a round. Silloth was something that Chris pushed, and it was one of the cheapest at £95, but I hadn't really let that sunk in just yet. So I got onto ChatGPT, as any sensible person would do, and it churned out a load of costs that I could start putting into the spreadsheet. The problem with golf course costing is you can have peak time, which is obviously the summer. That's when most people want to play. You can also get the kind of shoulder period, it's called, which is just at the end of the summer and just at the start of the summer. And then you get the full-on winter off peak. So planning on playing these courses at different times is going to wildly make the cost different. So me and Chris are having a few more chats about how we're going to approach this challenge. And he starts enhancing the spreadsheet with a few costs on there, more filtering available because we need to start clustering this by distance and then also locality. So we've got Ireland to contend with. We've got a little cluster in Wales, obviously a lot in Scotland. But as he's done that, and I start filtering in my chat GPT data, I start doing the sums in my head, and it does look like we could be in from anything from about £120 a round average to maybe £250 a round average. And over 100 courses, we could be looking at £25,000 there. That's quite a significant investment, albeit spread over a 10-year period. In anybody's book, that is a hard sell. We have to bear in mind we set a really important rule for ourselves right at the start, and that was rule number 1, and that this wasn't going to impinge on family life. And I'd only really considered the time that it was going to take, not really the cost. So I have brought this challenge up to quite a few people, and a lot of people have responded with saying it's wonderful, but they have brought up cost and sort of wished us well in that endeavour. And I remember thinking about it through real rose-tinted spectacles, thinking, well, it's only 100 courses. You know, if we can play at £95 a round, that's okay. That's not too bad over 10 years. And it was only really when we started enhancing this spreadsheet that kind of reality started sinking in. And it is a hard sell, I think, figuring out how to fit this in. So I suppose I'm a little bit of a low at this point, trying to work all this out. But maybe we just need to book another one and just get it over with, because I think those doubts might start to disappear. But right now I do feel a little bit low. Probably need a little bit of reassurance from probably Chris primarily. You know, I'm trying to feel him out a little bit on where he is with the challenge. He sort of set it. We did it, as we all know, we did it drunkenly one night on a Saturday. We'd convinced ourselves that it was a brilliant idea. We just need to try and see how we can make that a reality. And I don't know where his head is at with that commitment, or if after all this trouble that we're going to now with documenting it all, we've got a podcast, we've got a website, we've told everyone that we're doing it, if he's having any regrets as well. So I don't know all of that, but I think perhaps I just need to get over that by booking the next one. Or I think Chris drove Silloth and the booking of Silloth. It was a really good first one to do because it was a course that was close to his heart. But I think maybe I should just drive the next one. Let's get it booked. Let's see what happens. And if nothing else, we'll have played, hopefully, two really, really good golf courses. So I'm interrogating our spreadsheet using all of our filters to try and make some sense of which one to book. I've got to consider budget. I've got to consider distance from where we are. I've got to consider that we've got to try and fit it in with weather and how that might be, and it's just starting to turn. And I have to tell you, it was quite a long task trying to figure out which course to book next when we didn't have an obvious link to the next booking. It was just a matter of picking one out and booking it. So I think it took me probably about 2 hours, and that included verifying all the ChatGPT information, which, by the way, was wildly inaccurate. So sense checking all of that, trying to update the spreadsheet on a few of the nearer courses so that the information was correct so we could make a better informed decision. All of a sudden, I had a bit of a bolt out of the blue. Next time on the Top 110 Golf Podcast. The next course gets booked up. I think we're doing this.